Hey folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Who am I, you ask? I was created in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the waste of a dying world. I was bestowed with an insurmountable task: bring peace after decades of death, persecution, and chaos. I am a grandchild of war, destined to help two camps which hate has fueled for far too long. Surprisingly, I am not alone. Have an odd bunch to make the road a little more bearable. Come with me, to bring hope where there was despair, respect where there was resentment, creativity where there was destruction. I am Pinocchio, and this is my story.
Do you have my espresso bean?
How'd you get out of prison?
Good lawyer. Enough, Doc. Where's my bean?
I don't have it.
Jimmy's been kidnapped. Help me, and I'll do anything.
What's in it for me?
Information about your mother.
Detective Mickey Potatoes is back, and this time the stakes are higher than ever. A priceless espresso bean is missing and a life is on the line. Join Mickey in an all-ages noir adventure packed with comedy, suspense, and heart. Support Detective Potatoes, Lord of the Bean on Kickstarter, and unlock exclusive rewards. Books, poker chips, minifigures, and more. Back the campaign today and help bring this thrilling mystery to life. Support independent storytelling. Support Detective Potatoes.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting, but also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
Hello, folks. It is another Wednesday. This thing going away. There it is. There we are. Hey, y'all. So this week is just me by my lonesome, and I'm going to just kill that background because y'all need to see the junk that I've got laying around behind me. That's silliness. Screw it. I'll leave it up. It looks better that way. Man, they really need to upgrade how those blurs work in the software. So anyway, good morning. Got the trusty Vader mug. And we are going to be going into today, just working alone today. And let me set up my screen share real quick. We'll go into... We're going to share a couple of different screens. And first off, I'm going to share the screen from a script. Because today we're going to do something kind of neat. So I was going to talk a little bit about how I process a script when I get one from a writer. That's something that I don't think folks talk about very often. That I don't care who you are, if you're drawing a comic book, you're going to have to go through what I call processing the script. And what that means is the process of reading the script. You're going to have to read the thing, suss out, in my opinion, you should read it, suss out all the characters that are going to be in it, settings, environments, anything special, so that you don't want to get a curveball thrown to you in the middle of working on a book. So the best way to do that is start out by reading it. Now, different writers are going to have different styles of scripts they'll give you. Broadly speaking, comics tend to run in what us older guys call the Marvel or DC styles. DC style was where they would write. Typically, DC used to do almost exclusively 6 panels a page. And the writer would say, panel 1, establishing shot, name the place, give the characters and what's going on. And they would describe that way for each of the panels, exactly what they wanted, oftentimes going as far as like camera angle. They could get really in depth with those descriptions. Then there's the Marvel style. And the Marvel style is very different than that. The way the Marvel style script would work, the writer typically Marvel style these days is a lot of folks call it loose script. DC would be tight script. Tight script, the writer is in full control and they've got everything, they're lining everything out. With a loose script or a Marvel style script, there's a lot of different ways. I have seen loose scripts, Marvel style scripts, so damn loose that it was like, yeah, here you need to do 22 pages. These characters meet, talk, maybe have a fight. This gets revealed, show these things. Literally would get a script that loose, and it's just up to me to go, okay, well, I got to parse it all out. Personally, when that is the case, this is really annoying me. When that is the case, I think that the artist should get co-writer credit, but that's a whole other thing. So, but, as the artist, whatever kind of script I get, it's my job to parse that out and figure out what I'm going to draw, where I'm going to draw it, how many panels, how am I breaking up that page and doing the pacing and everything, which I think is, to me, that's the real art of comics. It's not the actual rendering and drawing, although those things are just obviously stupidly important. But you can tell a good comic story with absolutely dirt primitive art. And if the layouts and the staging, the visual storytelling is solid, it will probably still be it'll probably still be readable, if not a good read. So that's kind of an important thing. And that to me is the place where writers and artists often don't really blend. The writers tend to have their idea of the story and how it should be shown and all that. Artists want to be artists. They want to draw. They're like, oh, I'm going to draw this cool stuff. Well, this is an area where I think that it would behoove many writers to have a lot more respect for the storytelling that the artists have to do. And it would behoove the artists to spend a lot more time on actual writing and storytelling skills, learning how stories work. Because comics as a medium is really the two. It's the written word with the images, obviously. And if you don't explore and understand where those overlap and how they work together, because it's where they overlap that allows them to work together. If you don't get that nailed down, then no matter what kind of script you've got or what kind of art you do, you're going to turn out junk. So we've got a tight script and a loose script, DC style versus Marvel style. I would say these days, most of the scripts that I get from people are kind of a hybrid of the two, where, and this is funny to me, where a lot of times writers, you can tell the thing that the writer is super excited about, because it'll say like, you'll be like, page 1, this happens, here's this. There's nothing, it's like, okay, here's this. Page 2, blah, 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 blah. Just barely anything. And it's up to you as the artist to figure out. Then you'll hit like a page somewhere where the writer has just written War and Peace in that entire description of what's going on that page. And so it's, I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but you'll get these curt little short descriptions, and then you'll get one that's just like extremely detailed. When you're working with a script like that, which is pretty common, I feel like as the artist, if the writer goes out of their way to write and really expound on something, then really read it and pay good attention to it and make sure that you try and work in as much of that as possible, because as the artist, if you don't make that writer happy, you're probably not going to keep the job. That's just how that works. I mean, depending on the business profile, the business scenario that you're in, these days with a lot of indie comics, the writer is oftentimes the publisher. So, if you don't keep that guy happy, you ain't doing his book. And with a lot of larger publishers, the writer is bringing the concept that they want portrayed. Pardon me while I get some more coffee. And if you as the artist don't address that with the proper respect for what the writer brings to the table, well, then that company is probably not going to work with you. That writer is not going to be happy with you. And if the writer is not happy with you, the company's probably not going to be happy with you. So pay very close attention when a writer writes a lot of stuff. This is weird without having banter from people. We will continue. So as I was saying, there's tight script and there's loose script. Oh, pardon me. There's tight script and loose script. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the comments, see if anybody says anything. And regardless of the type of script, I will read the script, and oftentimes I will rewrite that script, simplifying the hell out of it. And there's a project I'm on right now where the writer is very dialogue heavy. Most of this one particular issue that I'm working on is dialogue between a couple of characters. And it's up to me to suss out imagery from that dialogue and panel layouts and panel breakdowns. So it's tough when you get that, it's a very oddball kind of script to get where they're literally just writing characters talking. It's like, on this page, I want these things said between these people. And it's up to me to create the staging and everything for that. That's an odd way to work, but it just shows you, there's no standard for script writing, and you can get a lot of different stuff. So what we're looking at right here is an example, and I will just not sure I know how to remove myself from the stage and keep my audio up, so I'll just keep myself right there. If I pop over here, we can see the script that I'm sharing right now, just a little bit of. So page 3, just like page 4 and page 2, is a conversation between these two characters named Asmodeus and Deceit. And there's a lot of imagery in this conversation. And so I am responsible for breaking down that imagery. What I've done is, like, we have, here's all that dialogue for page 3. And I do not envy the letterer who's going to have to break that apart. But then down here, you'll see, let's find it. Page 5, 4, 3. Okay. So here's where I've got it broken down initially. And a lot of times I will start out, I kind of like a 5-panel page a lot of times. And so I'll start out just kind of glossing through it and breaking it down, saying, okay, here's here's how I would average this stuff out into 5 panels. Then I may go back through and tweak on that. But once I've got it broken down like that, so here's where I've broken down page 3, and you can see how I've broken out all of the text and everything there. And I'm sitting here pointing at my screen as if you guys can see me pointing. It's so silly. Anyway, this is where we're going to start talking about Clip Studio a little bit. Oh, there we go. All right. So I am going to change my screen presentation for a second. And let's just do, let's see here. Let's just do the whole screen so that I can pop back and forth. Okay. So let's go over here. Here you can see I've already drawn, I'm 3 pages in. I'm starting on page 1, 2, 3. I'm on page 4 now. So let's go look at page 4 in the script. Okay. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's this big block of text and all this dialogue. And then down here is going to be, where we go, 4. Here's where I averaged it out into 5 panels. And what I'll do once I have it rewritten like this, I will do a screenshot, which on a PC is going to be a key command of Windows key plus Shift plus S. And I will just screen cap that. And then once I drag over it and screen cap it, then in Clip Studio, I will paste that screen cap, blow it up. So then I've got that right here, and I don't ever have to leave Clip Studio again to work on that. A lot of times too, once I'm in here, I will start thinking then more about the actual art, and we will end up with like I'll read through this. So panel 1, Asmodeus looks curious and concerned. Let's see, dialogue. Okay. Yeah, so that one's going to stand. I'm going to keep panel 1, panel 2. Yep, I'm going to keep that one as that close-up. Panel 3. It's this guardian figure thing. Yeah. Okay, 3, 4. Okay. Pulling from the dialogue, we've got this character of Sin, which there's a lot of ancient origins to the word sin, which is kind of interesting stuff. And I know that the writer is really well versed in a lot of that and is playing with a lot of it, which makes this a fun project. So then, now I've already drawn a celestial calendar real quick and tossed it over in here. It's what I'm using is an old, what was that thing called? I can't remember what it's called. It was it's kind of like a sundial sort of thing, and I'm pulling from an old, I think Persian design for what I'm using in this. But so there's that. So I know that this wheel is very important in the plot, and I'm just gonna position this on this page and kind of get it where I'm thinking about it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. How far do I want to go with that? Let's see, panel. Let's see, that's in panel 5. So let's bring that back down. And something like this that's very.
You forgot to share your screen. Everybody was just listening to you talk. I put your screen up for you.
Oh,
now it's gone. What'd you do? It was up. I put it up for you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, I got kind of off track there. I think
Lou was listening to you talk, and she's like, "Is there a visual for this?"
Sorry about that, you guys. That's why I like having Pops around, man, running the show. I'll get into what I'm doing and completely forget about the actual production side of it. So, let's go ahead and think about the layout on this. I am going to keep, I'm going to keep it to 5 panels. Let's see, character. So let's start breaking this down. I'm going to start off with a rectangle frame here and set my color to black. Let's do one right there. It's going to be my first panel. And then here's my second panel. And Clip Studio, I love this. That if you click on your the icon for the layer, you can then have these context sensitive tools that you can just pop right into. So I'm going to be a little goofy with this and give this little angle. I'm a big fan of doing like wonky stuff with panels. 2, let's see, 3. And then I think for the rest of this, I'm going to go 3 tall panels here at the bottom that are actually going to all be right behind these. And while I do a lot of my work traditionally, I actually combine working digital with traditional because, for those who may just be joining us and haven't watched before, my left hand is out of commission because I had a stroke. And trying to turn paper and use rulers and things like that when you're only one-handed, you may be able to do it, but you're not going to do it quick, and you sure are not going to do it quick enough to pay your bills if you're getting paid for it. So what I will do is get a layout done for a page like this in Clip Studio, and all these hard lines that traditionally I would be doing with rulers, I will go ahead and send this over to I've got a nice printer that can print on illustration board, and I will print my blue line with my hard lines, my hard stuff on it, that anything on it that I would have to use use two-handed tools for, I will do digital and print those out and then do the rest traditional. So if anybody wants to say it's cheating, they can piss off, because that's how I pay my bills. So here we're going to bust this into 3 panels, and this is where those context sensitive tools come in again. There's a tool that is a cut border tool. You should see it right there. And when you have that tool selected, the layer that you're on, or the panel that you're on, if you draw into it, and if you want to make, you can just go willy-nilly with it. It will pull, and it will move around from where you pulled it. You'll see how it cuts the panel apart, and it actually makes separate layers for you, which is kind of cool. But if you wanted it to lock to, vertical or horizontal, then you hold your shift key while you're doing it, which, again, one-handed, my shift key is a pedal on the floor. So we'll go
Chat's lighting up over there. Carrie's over there dropping comments left and right. She said, "Oh, come on. We all know what men can do with one hand."
If only drawing were as easy as that.
What's up, RJ William? What's happening? And Lou said, "I call that working smart." Okay, I'm out.
All right. In Clip Studio, once I've got my panels worked in, I'll hold shift and click on one of these and then click on the bottom so that it selects the whole stack. And then I'll right click and tell it to create a folder and insert layer. And then I'm going to set that to multiply. And what that's going to do, it doesn't make any actual visual change when you first do it. But that's going to multiply the contents of that folder against my backdrop, which is going to let my blue lines and stuff show through. So then I can just come in, create a new layer. I'm going to set it to gray, and then I'm going to click on this layer color. And that's by default, that's going to do a blue line and white. And so right there, now you can see that I'm drawing through there, but my panels and everything are, clean and kept on top of it. So let's take a look back at our script. And so the first panel, we had Asmodeus, who's actually a young girl. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start roughing some stuff in here. And and if anybody else is using the 27-inch Cintiq HD, zooming in, if you're on 11 by 17 page, setting your zoom to 16.5 will get you about a 1-to-1 analogy between what you're doing digitally and what you would do physically on 11 by 17 paper. That's something that I'm very, very conscious of. I check frequently to make sure that that anything I'm doing digitally is not distorted or screwy and weird because of me being zoomed in too far. Like, you could totally zoom in and spend hours on all these details in a panel. And then when it hits the 11 by 17 page, it all disappears because it was mud. You were working up too close. So it's always good to keep that view set. Sometimes I'll zoom in. I'll zoom out a lot just to view my entire page as a whole. But I'll spend most of my time working at 16.5 magnification. So let's do a bit of drawing here. So let's see, what did the script say? It said she looks curious and concerned. Okay. So I'm probably going to be right up in the camera here for a second. And I really prefer doing my pencils this way. Let's see. I'm probably going to get a little quiet for a minute here. So when I'm doing the rough blue line stuff, I tend to be very loose and just kind of cartoon it out. I may go a little tighter with this since I'm doing it on stream, but we shall see. Okay. And sometimes I'll play around with things while I'm drawing just to kind of get an idea of where I want my inks to go eventually. So let's do. Thinking about the light source coming down from here, maybe. Okay. Okay. And this character is supposed to be a young girl, so there's like some visual language to how you portray that sort of thing. When I'm doing a face like that, a lot of times I'll do the lips and I'll draw this little circle or a little oval there for the philtrum, a little indentation. And that helps give me landmarks to look out. And I think on this one I may end up darkening a lot of that in so that we're working with this with the light source right here. Okay. Need to bring that chin in and soften her up quite a bit. Okay. And since we were getting shadows from the underside, bring out the contour of the underside of that chin there. And then we're going to give a little taper here that helps point that out. And keep her neck very thin. Let's see. And we go. Here. This is actually the part that I find the most enjoyable, where I'm playing with the lighting and all of that while I'm doing the pencils. And I've got this very stylized way that I'm rendering this character's hair, so that'll be fun. Let's see. A lot of times, instead of flipping my pen around and using the eraser, I will just go over here and click on transparent. Okay, that. I really like letting shadows build up to create certain facial landmarks, like the tops of the eyelids or the brow above the eyelids. Okay. This part gets me really relaxed. So, and then I'm adding a lot of shadows here just because I think originally I was going with a light from, I think, kind of a different angle than where I'm landing at here. So I'm going to take some of that back out. And play around here with how this light falls. So that she doesn't need that much of a line there for her nose. I am not liking that. So let's peel some of this back out. God, I like penciling digitally. I feel much freer doing my pencils digital. I feel free to play around a lot more. So if we're going with shadows under here, then that's going to darken her eyes in because the ledge of this comes out a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Maybe I will bring this back in. No, I think that was going to kind of pollute that shape a little bit. Drawing young characters is aggravating quite often. I know I'm going to do some stuff right here. And then we're going to come back in here above the chin and look out some shadows there. Damn it, I keep thinking about my light source being from the bottom, and I shouldn't. So, yes, it's going to be more of this. Yeah, that's better. I don't know why I was having such a brain fart on that. Sometimes you just got to scribble and see where you end up, and it'll help you find out, where you really should be with something. So then it would be her top lip would be darker here. We can come in here, kill some of that, tighten that up. There we go. And then I'm going to go right through here, really darken this stuff up. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, I like that. And for this character, I really don't need to draw in her hair at all because I know when I ink it, I've got a certain methodology for how I ink that hair that is kind of aggravating, but I think it looks really cool. Let's go in here and make sure that we have this like fully defined. All right, and then there's her tiny little neck.
Carrie wants to know, how
Yes.
do you approach drawing hair and beards?
Well, that's funny because this character is completely different than what I do 9 times out of 10. Because with this character, she's basically blonde or platinum haired, and I'm treating it as a shape, as just a shape, which if I zoom in over here, I can show you. You might be able, there we go. There you can see how I'm doing it. It's a very Alphonse Mucha Art Nouveau sort of thing to do a shape like that has no details inside it, but you're just catching the silhouette and working with it. So like for this character right here, her hair is going to be a very different process than most of the time. But like if I popped on a quick layer here and we started talking about it, if I were drawing this as like regular hair, I would start out on this with defining the volume of the hair. So like if she were kind of a shorter bob sort of thing, or just a shorter hairstyle in general, I would start off with defining the overall shape of the hair, and don't ever think about strands. Because if you think about hair strands when you're trying to draw hair, you are going to drive yourself nuts.
So if you give her longer hair, would that be considered turning up the volume?
Oh, hey, Charles.
I finally found the link.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to be able to make it today.
Thank you, though.
Sorry about that.
No big deal.
Yeah, I'd have sent that myself if I knew you were going to.
Yeah. Oh, it's been some fun chaos, but things have been awesome and good.
Very cool. It's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
So like there, I've just done this shape, and let's say, of course, this is not a dark-haired character, but if I'm doing a medium to darker tone of hair, I'm going to define a lot of things here first. Really defining locks of hair is the important thing. So if you think about hair, most people, the mistake they make when they're drawing hair is they think in terms of strands. That will drive you absolutely batshit crazy. Don't do it. Just put it out of your head. Think of hair as bundles, and then draw the shadow of the bundle. So like, if we think about a bundle here and a bundle here, so then I'll draw the shadow of that bundle. And in here, this is one of the other reasons I like penciling in here, because sometimes I like to use a larger tip to paint or draw with, excuse me. So, and that allows me to more quickly rough that in. When you're using a really sharp little pencil tip, you'll have a tendency, your tools will influence what you think of. So if you're using a pencil that makes a very fine line, you're going to think in terms of fine lines. If I'm doing traditional pencils, if I'm doing a pencil drawing and I get to the point where I'm doing hair, I am not going to use a sharp pencil at all. In fact, I'm going to look for one of these really fat pencils. So like if you think of a normal, like mechanical pencils having lead about that thick, I'm probably going to go for something that's that or that. And the reason is that if I'm using something larger like that, it's going to influence me. I'm going to think more about shadows of big bundles. And then that's going to help me get where I want to be much more quickly. It's going to keep it focused on the volume and the form. So, and then you just are thinking about the shape of those bundles and your light source. And that's really, it may seem like I'm taking a very particular thing, a very in-depth sort of thing, that a lot of people struggle with and making it super simple. But the thing is, it really is, I think, exactly that simple. So
I figured out a name for the character. Since you're dealing with bumbles, you should call her Bee, so that it would be Bumblebees.
And here we can add in like some shadows from the hair onto her face if we wanted, and then if you add a few more shadows like that, then you're reinforcing what the shape of the hair is. Then in here, since I'm penciling digitally, I can come in with some white and further refine those. And you see that I'm not drawing like every single hair. I'm not getting bogged down in all the little things that you could get bogged down with, just there it is. There's some shapes. Really focused on the shape of the bundles. So, and that also plays well to something that I really like in my own artwork a lot of times is playing around with positive and negative. The positive and negative space are huge. They're really important.
Serious question for you, Les.
Yeah.
If some of our fans wanted to get personalized art lessons where it's done through Zoom, have you ever thought of setting that up?
I have not, actually.
Okay.
But I would not be opposed to it.
Yeah, because if we could maybe get like a $100 for three lessons, 3 hours or something like that. It could be in one day or on 3 days or something. I've been noticing other artists have been doing that, and that might be kind of fun to help give more detail to the craft to some of the fans out there. It was just an idea.
Oh, I would totally be down with something like that. Absolutely. That's I always enjoy, sharing what I've learned through the years with folks anyway. And, there is only so much you can do in the course of like a 1 hour stream that we do every week. So, I would totally be down for that. And if there's anybody watching who's interested, just, message me or reach out to us and let me know. It's like right now what I'm doing is kind of roughing in this squiggly sort of thing that I'm going to use as a guide for her hair. And most of her hair is going to be done. It's really wild. Most of her hair will be done by drawing. When I ink it, it will, let's do the layer here. So I will take a thick brush and do a couple of deals like that, maybe. And then I'll take white and I end up going over most of the black.
Interesting.
But that way I can create that positive space. Another route for doing that is to, let's say we blocked in big area here. And then dunk, there we go. And then I don't even really need to draw it. I can just do it with a lasso. So we've got all that black shaped, and then I'll come back in with white. And actually, before I hit it with the white, I'll come in and do some of this kind of stuff, adding, some flyaways and parts of the style. And I'm this is a very chaotic hairstyle anyway. So we'll just come in here, and I can always erase some back out of it if I need to. There we go. And then from there, we will come in here. I'm going to pick some of these little lines and follow them with white. Okay. And then we'll do some kind of silly stuff up here.
All right, we're not going to cut you out in the middle of a lesson. You can go till 12:30.
Yeah. Well, I will be ready to go here in just a minute. So, but what I'm doing here is just, putting these wild shapes in here, and you see sometimes I'll cross back over it. And let's come back here, and we should be able to fill that in. And you'll see how that knocks it out. And I did that intentionally so you could see the dark side versus the light side over here and how that all works out. And you can get some really, really cool effects that way.
Somehow you figure out how to put Star Wars into everything.
I pretty much do, yes.
Another name your character could have is Miss E, first name Hair, so she could be Hair E.
Wouldn't be a Wednesday without Charles's terrible jokes.
Yeah, I know her sister's ugly and homely.
Yeah, see, that's a very rough approximation of how I get the look. I did this whole technique over here too with just white into the black, but here this is a much cleaner. That's actually for final work, so it's a much cleaner take on this. Where I've gone in, like once it's all done, I'll go in and let's come back here. This is, for the sake of the screen, I'm going to zoom in. Like when I'm doing this on paper, I'll be laying my head like on the paper, getting so close that I'm looking at it. And then you'll see me come in and just trace around all those shapes. Maybe add a couple new ones here and there. But if you go look at the artwork of one Alphonse Mucha, he did this constantly. He was active in the early 20th century. And the man was so influential that in his lifetime, Art Nouveau was actually called Le Style Mucha.
Yes, the Mucha style.
And I adore Mucha.
Did you know that he had a son?
Alphonse Mucha had a son?
Yeah, Mucha Palooka the Cannibal Boy.
Oh God! One thing about Mucha that you'll dig, Charles, is this is one of the few positives for me of going to Chicago. That there is in the older architecture of Chicago, you will see a lot of Art Nouveau and early Art Deco that were influenced by Alphonse Mucha. And the reason is because in the early 20th century, he left Czechoslovakia to go teach at, I believe, University of Chicago. And it vastly influenced the style of the city back when that city had style and wasn't just a festering urban sprawl that needs to be removed from existence.
Really?
I love shitting on Chicago, man. It's like a hobby.
It's like for you. The reason why we get along is I'm not from Chicago. I'm from Oak Park, so I'm Chicago light. So that's why
Chicago light.
That's why you can put up with me.
Yeah. Instead of being from Chicago, you're from Chicago.
Chicago land.
You're Chicago adjacent.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God. See, for non-Chicagoers, Chicagoans, Chicago, whatever you call yourselves,
Chicagoanians, what?
Chicagoites, I don't know.
Yeah.
For folks not from Chicago, like all of those little, it's kind of like when I lived in Cincinnati. I didn't really live in Cincinnati. I lived in West Price Hill.
That's why you're still sane.
Or I lived in Cheviot.
Wait. Yeah, are you swearing again?
But like, even when I lived there, I was like, yeah, this is all Cincinnati. People from in Cincinnati proper are like, no, you're from Cheviot. That's not Cincinnati. And I'm like, dude, your cops come down our streets. It's all the same thing.
Yep. Their cops come to Oak Park to not have to deal with things.
That's kind of my litmus test. Is like if the larger city that you're attached to, if their cops police your streets, yeah, you're not your own thing anymore. You've been taken.
Now the Chicago cops do not police the Oak Park streets.
Ah, well, that's quite valid. I wonder if that speaks anything about the difference in life there.
Yeah, well, we have a very high percentage of police officers, and they're highly supported. So usually in wealthier neighborhoods, they would not survive zombie attacks, so things are more glass and pretty and aesthetic, and you have a lot more police. Where, areas in Chicago, like the one area, the zip code that has more death than combat in Iraq. There's one zip code there, small area. It would survive a zombie attack easily because everything is boarded or caged up, things like that, but almost no police.
That's what we call Chirac.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, folks, it is just slightly after the hour, and
you know what that means.
Hopefully, we have shown y'all something worthwhile here today.
You know what? It was my face, which is the best part.
Oh God.
So, Les, should I call for commercials?
I believe so. Let's take a quick look through the chat and see if anything else.
All right.
Anything here.
The chitty chat.
Let's see. We've got Carrie, Gray Wolf says, I have a lot of problems trying to draw here.
Hi, good Carrie.
Some of what I showed you today will help. Maybe we'll do, if you guys would actually, won't you leave some suggestions in the comments there for things that you'd like to see some future installments on?
Probably how to draw boobs.
Boobs.
Like the ones who appear in He-Man. You boobs! I am surrounded by boobs. What were you thinking I was talking about?
Let's see. Well, I think that's going to pretty much cover it for today. So thanks for popping in, Mr.
Go
Chuck.
to commercial.
Pops, take us out.
Go to commercial.
How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz
how to drive.
hands. Jazz hands.
Have a good night.